Once again, eh? VAR.
Good old VAR.
Right. Goodness me, like, English people lost their heads during the whole weekend on these sort of decisions. Where do you stand on it, Robbo?
On VAR, or just on these
Just
decisions?
on these offsides.
I don't think the lines are particularly accurate. That's what worries me. We're talking about millimetres, and I'm not sure those lines... And I've seen in Champions League games where it looks as though the lines have been moved to make a decision. And because we've seen the lines almost together, on top of each other, 1 minute, and then 3 minutes later, when they've given offside, they suddenly pull them apart. And I can't say that, and nobody could say that Wolves goal that was disallowed, Johnny was absolutely offside. There's no way you could...
The technology says he was.
But
why would you go against technology compared to your naked eye? Why does that make sense?
When you're seeing the lines from the technology, and they say there's so much, it can be so much of an error, that goal I think should have stood. There's no way that anybody can say that was offside.
So how do you make a difference? What is your factor where you say, no, now we will use the technology, as opposed to, oh, it's too close to tell?
I think at some point they're going to have to change the offside laws. So there's clear space between an attacker and a defender. So they have, as it was maybe several years ago.
How clear does the space have to be?
Yeah,
then we're getting into this, aren't we? What if it's millimetres again between this space?
We're so close to, is he offside, isn't he offside? The forward not getting the benefit of the doubt. It's making a mockery of what's going. And it seems to me at the moment that the only league that's getting it wrong is the Premier League.
How's it getting it wrong?
Everybody's having issues.
Everybody's had their issues, but not as much as the Premier League.
Well, the Premier League are having more problems than most because they just decided on their own protocols, which, again, I was involved in some of the early decisions around protocols and how it was used. No. We decided, or what was decided by the referees, you saw it used at the World Cup, where it worked wonderfully well. But all of a sudden, the Premier League has decided on their own set of protocols.
And this is the going to the monitor, which I understand, which we've talked about before, but with just this offside...
With just this offside. Now, again, and we've had this discussion about offside being objective as opposed to subjective, and where do you draw the line? But I'm with Robbo here, especially as, regardless of what the decision is, the Premier League and VAR are determined to take 4 minutes to make every single decision, regardless of how clear-cut it is. But let's say you use a slightly wider line, or however you decide it, and you just decide that thanks to human error, if the two lines overlap any, then the call on the field stands, or whatever it may be, as opposed to this rather ridiculous drawing of a line, and as you say, you're moving it to fit with the armpit and whatnot. You have to, even though we're using technology, as long as humans are involved in the employment of that technology, there will be margin for error. So have the lines. There's any overlap, then you give the benefit of the doubt to the call that stood on the field.
You had people spontaneously combusting pretty much over these last 48 hours about how it's ruining the game, it's taking away the joy, how they'd never watch a game as well. That was happening
as soon as VAR was introduced to the Premier League. I'd worked on Serie A, I'd worked on MLS. There wasn't this great big fuss about it. OK, this is what it's going to be. The Premier League have made a big issue. All the commentators that I work with, when they say, oh, we got VAR this, I'm not sure how that's going to work, and this is going to be terrible for the game.
But why? Is it the English psyche?
I tell you what,
they're ruining our game. The Premier League believe they're better than everybody else. There's a real snobbery about the Premier League. They do things better. We're going to do it our way. Mike Riley, in my view, and I've said it before on this show, should be sacked. If you're a manager and you get results wrong and things don't go your way, you get the sack. If you're a player and you don't play well, you get left out the side. He is now head of the referees and he's the one that makes all the calls. He is getting it massively wrong.
I tell you what, the Robbo, well, not that I'm one to defend Mike Riley here, but I believe as well that the league are responsible for a lot of the decisions. It's less about what the referees want and need and more about addressing the criticism that come from the fans and the media. This is a tool that is designed to help the referees consult with them a whole lot closer in how it needs to be implemented moving forward. Saying that as well, I think that the players are taking advantage of the fact that somebody in a far-off location is making these calls. And the Liverpool goal is a perfect example. The Lallana was not a handball, and that was clear to see. And then all of a sudden, the attentions of the Wolves players turn to Van Dijk. And was that a handball? Yet, during the course of the game, when Van Dijk controls the ball, not one single Wolves player appeals, stops, the game continues. But as soon as you realize, well, hold on, the Lallana one was okay, so now we have to make something else an issue. And all of a sudden, now you're talking about Van Dijk, and we have another talking point, which that's down to the players, and they're taking advantage of the uncertainties around VAR.
Does it take away from your enjoyment of the game?
When I'm commentating, no. Because we're more involved, we're having to make calls.
What about just like watching in your hotel room today?
The Wolves goal really frustrated me because I think it's a goal. And Wolves are celebrating, great, 1-1, we've got a game on our hands, and then suddenly you've taken 2-3 minutes to make the decision, and that spoils your enjoyment. And now I think, particularly in the Premier League, every goal that's scored, they're always being looked at, but you're wary. Is there something gone wrong somewhere in the move? What might have happened that's going to stop?
But that's what we want, isn't it?
You're not getting the enjoyment.
For the years, people have said, look, all we want is consistency from the officials. And now you're getting consistency.
You will never. No, you're not getting consistency.
Of course you are. Much more than you were.
You're getting consistency because some of the people, and Shaka's absolutely right. It's still humans making the decisions, not on the offside, but on many other decisions, and they're still getting it wrong because they don't get the laws quite right.
But a lot less wrong than we saw in the past. You think of the goals that have been given or indeed disallowed because of wrong offside calls. Those have been minimised now so much. That it's just this little 0.1%, really, isn't it, that gets picked on.
I'll tell you what, if I'm sitting in my room watching this game, and I'll only speak for myself here, but I always side with the underdog. And in this situation, it was Wolves. But let's say we're talking about Liverpool against Southampton, and Southampton are leading 1-0, and Liverpool get the benefit of a bad decision or no VAR to equalise late on. Now my heart's breaking for Southampton. Even though we're talking about the exact same call, but the tables are turned in that you have a favourite and a big club scoring an equaliser against a smaller club. In that circumstance, I feel aggrieved for the smaller club, as I do here. Wolves being the smaller club as compared to Wolves.
In every sport, it happens in cricket, it happens in rugby, it's happening in football now. Some decisions could be made so much quicker. You don't have to keep looking at it over and over and over again. It takes too long.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.